someone said you should read this book, Dying to Be Me by Anita
Yes,
Moorjani.
absolutely.
I started reading this book, and all of a sudden, it was for me, it was a page turner, man. Reading. I go, oh my God, she is the poster child for biology of belief. I go, what do you mean? She had cancer, not recent, 4 years with an oncologist working with her for 4 years on her cancer. It turns out it's essentially the last day of her life. Her system has shut down. She's on life support system. Okay. She's so emaciated that lumps of cancer are sticking out through her skin. You could see the cancer. Okay. She goes into a coma, and her oncologist, having worked with, of course, patients forever and ever, recognizes that when the patient goes into a coma, that's signaling the end is near. So the doctor is calling the family saying, look, she's coming to the end right now. You better show up here. While she's in a coma, she's out of body. She's not in her body. Matter of fact, she was watching, she can even observe herself in the bed. And she even heard, in this cool part, the dialogue between doctors in another room about her because she was in the field. But in that field, she ultimately went back to meet her father. And the issue about that was, in an Indian family, they arranged marriages. And she, being more westernized, was in an arranged marriage, but at some point, about 2 days before the marriage, said, no, I don't want this. I'm enjoying my life the way I'm doing it. I don't want to be married to somebody I don't even know. She told her father and mother 2 days before, I'm not going through with the wedding. It's like, oh my God, culturally, suicide. The whole family got, we have to tell everybody in the community that she's pulling out of the marriage, and it was a shame and all that stuff. And so she took on that shame. And she thought she lost her father's love, who she was close to. And that was like, oh my God, that was the end. And when she was out of body, she met her father in the afterlife place there somewhere. And she had a conversation with her father, and her father said, no, you can't lose my love. What happens on earth stays on earth. When you're out of that, that was a game. That you were in a play. You were in all that, but that's not who you are. You were an actor in a play. When you're out of that body and you're back here with us, we're all here watching the show. And basically resolve the conflict she held in her whole life of the sadness and all that, all around shaming her family. She lost it. And then comes a time where the usual out-of-body person gets the message, well, do you want to go back? And of course, she saw herself in that bed writhing with she's on her last day of life, for God's sake. She's like looking at that, it's like, who the hell go back to that? But she saw her husband, Danny, who quit his job for 2 years to take care of her every day at home, take care of her. And she saw him holding her while she was in the coma. And she said, oh, if I die, Danny's going to have a lot of problems. So I'm going to go back. And she goes back in the body. Guess what? She comes out of the coma. And everybody's like, oh, she's out of the coma. And guess what? Her system started working. They had to take the machines off. Everything started working right away. One of the things she says, I'm hungry, because she wasn't hungry for days and days. She said, I'm hungry. I want ice cream. I want this and this. And everybody was like so shocked that A, she's back. B, she's vibrant. She's off the machines and she's eating. About 8 or 10 days later, there was no sign of cancer. The doctors are going like, it's still in there. We're going to find it. And she was saying, there's no more cancer. It's gone. They wouldn't take that. 2 weeks later, they finally gave up because there was no more cancer.
Wow.
And I go, what happened? And the answer is this. On the last day of her life, she changed her consciousness. She changed her belief. And what happened? The cancer started to disappear right in front of everybody's faces. They couldn't even believe it. Her whole life, her system came back online. She's around here today as healthy as anybody could ever be. And I say, want to talk about getting to the end of the line? I mean, she was minutes away from end. And she came back and completely reversed it. Everybody go, like the conventional people, well, that was a misdiagnosis. I go, she was 4 years with an oncologist and the cancer lumps are sticking out of her skin. I don't think that's a misdiagnosis at all. That was cancer. And consciousness is what created the cancer. And a change of consciousness is what eliminated the cancer. Consciousness created everything. And it's hard for us to believe it because we always have these conscious wishes and desires and they never show up. And then we say, well, how could consciousness be doing that when none of my things are showing up? And I go, because you're not operating from that consciousness, you're operating from the subconscious program you got from other people. And just to illustrate the cancer thing very simply, it's this. They've studied what happens when a child is adopted into a family where there's cancer running in the family. It turns out the adopted child will get the same family cancer with the same probability as any of the natural siblings. But the adopted child came from completely different genetics. It wasn't the genes that caused the cancer. It was programming that was in disharmony. It was programming that leads to a feeling of frustration and loss and powerless and anger and all these things. I go, yeah, well, you put that chemistry from all that stuff into the blood, send it to the cells, you're going to activate a cancer. There's no gene that said, I will give you cancer. It's a lifestyle that activates cancer. And it's the same thing that says, well, I can change that by changing my consciousness. I go, Anita Moorjani, poster child. When did she change it? On the last day of her life. And came back completely healed. No cancer.
Keep reaching to feel better because the world needs you to feel good so you can share that very special gift that only you have. And if you want more, check out my next video here.